What is good, friends? Welcome to the last Wednesday of 2022. I'm Steven. Thank you for checking this out, watching this, taking time out of your day or whatever it is you're doing. Greatly appreciated. A couple of things. Feel bad for David Carr. Always thought he was a hell of a quarterback. The Raiders benched him. Yeah, it ain't him that's the problem. It's Josh McDaniel. And McDaniel will keep his job. Carr will be traded. Somebody else will benefit. Enough about that. Also, I feel like an incredible slug because most people don't know this. Towards the end of the summer, I had a partial tear in my right ACL. And ever since then, I've been less, my workouts haven't been as good. And I was at a point over the summer where I felt really good. I was in really good shape and getting in good shape. And now I feel like I'm lazy as all hell. And the holiday season has not helped because I've ate nothing but garbage. So 2023, we're going to get back on that health train, that's for sure. But before then, let's go into my top 5 or 6 shows of 2022. All right, starting with, wouldn't be me if I didn't throw some Star Wars in there. Now, there's some good Star Wars shows on Disney Plus, Mandalorian, but for all this entire list, I'm talking about shows that debuted this year. I know This Is Us was a great ending, but to me, it began better than it ended, so we're not going to go there. We're not going to talk about the 38th season of The Voice with Camila Cabello. We're talking about brand new shows that debuted this year. Now, I did not watch all of them, but I did watch a couple. Starting with Disney Plus and Star Wars. Book of Boba Fett, I liked, but I couldn't figure out if it wanted to be a gangster flick or a Western. That was a problem for me, so it's not on my list. But Andor and Kenobi are. Starting with Andor. This was a show nobody asked for, nobody thought they wanted, but much like Rogue One, movie nobody asked for, movie nobody wanted, it turned out to be amazing. And this show is the same way. Incredible writing, great story. Diego Luna back as the Cassian Andor character from Rogue One. This is a prequel, tells us how he gets to where he is in Rogue One. You wouldn't know it was Star Wars if it wasn't for the laser blasters and some spaceships and a couple of familiar faces, but for the most part, whole new writing, whole new theme, whole new everything, and it all worked extremely well. So Andor, definitely there. Also in my top 6, Kenobi. A lot of people bagged on Obi-Wan Kenobi. For me, I absolutely loved it. Good to see Hayden back as Vader. Good to see Ewan back as Obi-Wan. And it was a good adventure. I liked a lot of it. Now, granted, this was supposed to be a 2-hour movie that got split into 6 hours of TV. It still worked for me. They did a lot of cool things. A lot of people think they just threw cannon to the wind. I disagree. There was a couple of things that were kind of questionable, but the duel at the end between Kenobi and Vader is worth the entire watch. So if you're a Star Wars fan, give Obi-Wan a second look or a first look if you haven't seen it yet. Moving along to Hulu at number 5. Any chance I get to live in the past, I'll do it. Pam and Tommy gave me a trip back to the 90s. Now, this is the story of Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. When she was on top of the world, he was kind of on a downward trend, and they released that sex tape that changed the celebrity sex tape game forever. There was a lot of stuff that happened that I didn't know that happened, but it was just fun to go back to a time when the internet was new and the 90s were still the 90s, and it was good. You can find it on Hulu. It's a great cast. It's a great watch, and I had a lot of fun with Pam and Tommy. In at number 4 for me is Sylvester Stallone. Now, he doesn't draw at the box office quite the way he did in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, but on TV, that's a totally new thing called Tulsa King. Now, this debuted towards the end of the year. It's obviously big city mobster that finds himself in Oklahoma. And it's a really cool show. Good take, good idea. Stallone works, and I have a soft spot for this because my friend Brian did the still photography for this show. So I liked it a lot. Give Tulsa King a try at number 4. Number 3 for me, I read the books in college, the books being The Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. Now, this was the vampire storyline that everybody loved prior to Twilight and all these other takes on the vampire genre. Lestat, Louis, all these characters came alive in these books. Now, in 94, Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt started the movie adaptation, and they kind of stray away from the homoerotic side of things. This TV show dives right into that. I don't like the casting of Lestat as much as I did Tom Cruise, but I do love Jacob Anderson, who was Grey Worm in Game of Thrones. He is Louis, and they advance the timeline a little bit, so it's not necessarily in a plantation, but they touch on a lot of things that the book touched on, and it's just a very cool tone and theme and look, and dig this a lot. Interview with the Vampire is worth your watch on A&E at number 3. For my number 2, I had to throw some superhero in here, right? And Warner Brothers / DC hasn't got much right, but Peacemaker was so right on so many levels. Perfect casting for John Cena. He's both hilarious and believable as an action star. The story is kind of weak, but the opening dance intro and everything about it tends to make Peacemaker work extremely well in its own universe and genre. It does have a little bit of a harsh language thing for a superhero show, but it is definitely the best thing that DC has put out in the last couple of years. And James Gunn, the guy who does it, is now in charge of the Warner Brothers DC universe, so we'll see where this goes. But not everything can be like Peacemaker. Not everything can be like his version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but Peacemaker, definitely top-notch and hanging in there at number 2. If you ask me, Game of Thrones was 7 fantastic seasons of TV, followed up by an 8th season that was absolute garbage. And that's what happened. But House of the Dragon cleanses the palate and redeems it for Game of Thrones fans everywhere. Great cast, great story, couple of twists here and there, and it was just Game of Thrones when Game of Thrones was good all over again. Now, this takes place 100 years or so prior to what we witnessed in the Game of Thrones series, but you still get some recognizable household names and you get some recognizable themes, and this is a lot of fun to go back to Westeros. The unfortunate thing is we're going to have to wait until 2024 before we get to go back there again. So there it is. Those are my top 6 shows. 6-ish, 7-ish, whatever. My top-ish shows of 2022. Hopefully you've seen some of them. If not, check them out. Tomorrow we will do this again, only we'll stick a little closer to my heart and go with my biggest songs and my best favorite songs. My best favorite. Where did my English come from? My favorite songs of 2022. So have a great night. Thanks for watching.